So, I was going to tell you that once upon a time, I'm not comparing myself to this person, but once upon a time, St. Francis of Assisi, have you heard? St. Francis of Assisi was walking with his, not friends like us, but disciples, and the disciples said, when they saw a tree like this, can you say something? Give us a talk. Tell us about spiritual things. Say something. And St. Francis said, I will talk to you at the end of the walk. Last. So they walked the whole day and they came to some place which was the end of the walk. And then he sat down and they asked him again, so the walk is over, now tell us something. Give us a talk. And he said, my walk is my talk. So I was going to say that, but then we'll talk. First of all, let me tell you, it's beautiful. It's like walking in the Himalayas here. For me, I went off to the Himalayas at the age of 19. If you haven't read my autobiography, the age of 19. And I walked for many years. Difference was my master was there, my teacher. And I came back. And it is so wonderful that every year I used to run back, stay for some time, come back. And then I got married and but still I managed to go and come. Because such things, they get fixed in your head. They don't go, because they're beautiful. So now this is my second visit to Switzerland. I think I might keep coming again. Because it's nice. You don't have to walk with me every time, but okay. I'm going to tell you a couple of stories, that's all. Because we need to walk, we need energy. Don't think, just listen. There was this great Sufi teacher, you know Sufi, the Sufi mystics. There was this great Sufi teacher who was walking with his disciples. Bonfire is making nice. And then they were passing in front of a tavern. You know what's a tavern? Tavern. What's a tavern? Yes, where they drink wine. What do you say in your language? What? Tavern. Okay, so everybody knows. So I was walking in front of the tavern, and the owner of the tavern was standing there and asking, thinking, I wish this holy man comes to my place. But he was sure he's not going to come. Why would a holy man go to a tavern? Because he's already drunk. So, with something else. So he was waiting. And then suddenly the holy man turned and told him, so, are you not inviting me inside your place? And he said, oh yes, if you will come, I would be very happy. So he said, please come. So he took him inside. So the disciples followed. And then he sat down, everybody sat down. And the teacher asked the tavern owner, what have you got to offer me? Anything you have that I can have? He said, yes, I have nothing here except wine. Wine? He said, yes. Okay, you can give me that. So he poured a glass of wine for him. So he drank it. Now the disciples thought, Master is having a glass of wine, what about us? Everybody asked for wine. Soon many bottles were opened and everyone was drinking wine. The master had one glass of wine and then he walked out as he came in straight, and the disciples went out like that. They were too drunk, you know. And then further up they came to a place where there was a what is it called, a place where they melt metal, foundry, a foundry where metals are melted in high temperature. Foundry. Where lead is melted so it becomes liquid. So the master went to this man who was having his foundry and said, "Hey, are you not inviting me?" He said, "Yes, I don't know. If you come, I will be happy." So he said, "What have you got to give me?" He said, "There's nothing. I can give you some melted metal. Give it to me." So he took it in a crucible, drank it, and he told his disciples, "You can have as much as you want." Is this possible? So the Sufi story is, don't imitate the teacher. He may have various reasons when he or she is doing something. You cannot do that because you're not ready for it. So that's one story. The other story is about people ask me, how do I recognize a spiritual teacher? How do I know he's fake or he's real? Now, how do I know? If I knew, I would be a teacher myself, right? It's difficult to figure out. So this is a story about that. Somewhere in the Middle East, there lived a man who was very rich, had lots of caravans and so on, very rich. But when he was a small boy, he was very poor. So while he was very small, he had two ideas in his mind. One was he wanted to grow spiritually, and the other was, because he was poor, he wanted to make money. There were two things in his mind. So what happened finally, the thought of becoming rich or making more money became more important. So he forgot about his spiritual practice. He left. There was a small flame inside, but covered. And then when he turned 55 years old, he became very rich. He was, I think, richer than many rich people now. And then he said to himself, well, I have become rich, but I am not able to find happiness. And then he said to himself, this money cannot buy happiness. I don't think possible, because now I have all the money I want. I cannot buy happiness. I thought I would be happy, but I don't think I am. So that's not the answer. So what is the answer then? And then he went back to his young age, youth, and said, oh, there was this spiritual spark in me. Perhaps that will make me happy. So let me go back. So he distributed everything to his sons and his business, everything. Just got enough money to make a small little hut. You know what's a hut? In India we call it kutir. It's a small hut somewhere in the oasis. You know, in the eastern countries there is water only in the oasis, not like here. So built a little hut in the oasis, but he had lots of books. While he was becoming rich, he was also reading philosophy and spiritual books. So he had more than 200 books. So he had a small library inside, and he took these books. But there was one problem. Since he had left his family, since he had become in India, you know, rich people don't even know how to make a cup of tea. I mean, many rich people, because there are many servants. Say, sugar, ring the bell, tea. So he forgot even how to make a cup of tea. So he said, how am I going to survive here? I need a cook. So he went to the village and he found a good cook. Somebody recommended him. He's a very good cook. So he took him. So there were only two people, he and his cook and his books. He lived there for 7 years, studying. At the end of 7 years, it occurred to him, this thing which I am trying to find, I probably need a guide. Took him 7 years. I don't think I can do it myself. I probably need a guide. So he started whole day roaming around in the desert, in the caves, trying to figure out if there is any holy man living in a hut who might probably help him. He couldn't find. He found somebody, but he didn't think they were okay, so he left it there. One day he saw a man coming with a long flowing beard up to here. Could even put it into your belt. Big. And a big green turban on his head and many beads on his neck and so on, and looking very like a saint. You've seen pictures, Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, saints, so like that. So he went to him and said, please accept me as your disciple because I think you are a great spiritual teacher. So this man said to him, first of all, how do you know that I am a great spiritual teacher? He said, but I can see you look so vulnerable, like the old prophets. And he said, second, you want to become my disciple? I have a problem. My teacher, my guru, disappeared 7 years ago. I don't know where he is. See the voice, sound of the church bell. So nice. So he said, too tempting to talk. So he said, so I'm searching for him, still looking for him. If I find him, then I will ask him permission from him, and then I will accept you as my disciple. He said, but can I help you to search? Because two people searching is better than one person searching. He said, yeah, I can describe him to you so you can help me to search. So he said, okay, how does he look? He said, well, he's a short guy and his upper body is bare. He doesn't wear, he wears only a lower garment, and he always has a towel on his left shoulder, and he's a good cook. This man said, now just a minute, this sounds like the description of my cook. So, he looked, what do you describe? It's exactly like my cook. So can you come with me home and find out for sure what's happening, because it's funny. So he said, okay. So he went with him. And they entered and the kitchen door opened and the cook came out with a towel on his neck. As soon as this man saw the cook, he fell flat and said, oh master, where had you been? He said, for 7 years I was with this guy. He says, but he's looking for a teacher. 7 years you're with him and he's still looking for a guru, for a teacher. Well, he said, it took me 7 years to make him realize that he needed a guide. Now I have other work to do, so you please take care of him. You can accept him as you, and walked out of the place. Now, this is a Sufi story. The Sufi stories are like Zen stories. There are many angles to this, you know. You have to look at different angles. This may be a story, you might think, oh, he couldn't recognize the guru, but there are many more angles to it. The thing is, we usually end up with what we expect. When the real thing comes, you cannot make out. You get what I'm trying to say? We have an image, guru, right? So we are looking for that. But the man who drove the van for us today, he may be highly evolved spiritually. We don't know. but we will never accept. Why? Because we have an image. The only way to find the truth is to take the image out. When the image is out, then you see face to face. Till then we are caught in this. And how do we know about a spiritual stature of a person? How? We can't measure it. So you need to be with the person for some time to figure out what's he like. And a true spiritual teacher will rarely advertise, I am a spiritual teacher. Right? So here are some of the things. Okay, so shall I tell you one more Sufi story? I'm not a Sufi that way, but in fact there is a saying that the Sufi never says he's a Sufi. When somebody, I'm a Sufi, cannot be. So, I don't know if you know the stories of somebody called Mullah Nasruddin. Have you heard? They're supposed to be funny stories. Like he always has some problem, and and then it ends up that he looks like a fool. He's almost like a clown. It's Mullah Nasruddin. So this is a Mullah Nasruddin story. There were two countries, Switzerland on one side and Italy on the other. Not that, I'm just giving you an example. Here you have no borders. Now, there was a border between the two countries. You cannot take any goods, anything from this part to that part. There was a check post. There was a police standing there. They will check you to see if you are carrying anything from here, that side, and then they let you go. The olden days, no cars of course, so you have to take camels. So this Mullah Nasruddin would go every day and cross the check post with 2 or 3 donkeys. They would stop every day, check the donkeys. Nothing, only muck and mud and clay, so they'll throw it off and say, get out. This went on for many years. And one day, the officer, the police officer, the customs, who was in charge of the check post, he retired. After retirement, he went to stay on the seaside, the French Riviera, like somewhere like that. And Mullah Nasruddin also went away from this place. Nobody knew where he went. So one day when the customs officer went for a walk, he saw Mullah Nasruddin. He said, hey, wait a minute, come here. He said, you know something, now I have retired. I won't do anything to you. And you're not in the same place, you're here. So tell me, honestly, every time we checked, there was nothing but muck on the donkeys. Mud and stones. And what exactly were you smuggling? Were there some diamonds somewhere, something you were smuggling? What did you smuggle? We never found anything, we found only mud. He said, yeah, see, this is the problem with you guys. You don't look for the obvious, you only look for something else. He said, what do you mean? He said, I was smuggling donkeys, man. You know what I mean? So, in the spiritual field also, we always miss the obvious and we want something exotic. You know what is spiritual? This. Beautiful breeze, grass moving, mountains up there, green, lovely breeze, sitting here quietly and hearing the bells of the church. This is spiritual. I mean, what are we seeking? And if you know this and settle down, then you will find it happening inside also. There's a bell that rings inside. So, in a similar way, I want to make it a little more clear. 12 people went for a walk, pilgrimage walk. So, they crossed a river. After crossing the river, they decided, the leader said, we should count. If everybody has crossed the river, we need to see how many people are there. So he said, line up. And he counted. There were only 11 people. Where is the 12th guy now? So he went there and he called somebody else, you come and count. So he counted. But there were only 11 people there. Where is the 12th? And we don't know who has gone. Everybody seems like. So there was a man sitting on the tree, on the top of the tree. He said, what kind of fools are you? There are 12 people here. Because the guy who counted everybody forgot to count himself. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh. Where is the 12th? 12th is here. That guy could see it because he was sitting there. He was away from them. So the story is, what you seek spiritually is right there inside you. And we search for it everywhere. And we go to India, we go to here, we go there, it's here. And after you find somebody in India, what will he tell you? It is here. What are you looking for? So the truth is that in us, in our hearts, there is a beautiful treasure which we always miss. Jesus said this, lay treasures in your heart where thieves do not break in and steal. It is this treasure that we should seek. And this is a peace walk. So I need to say one more quotation from the New. I'm not a Christian father or preacher, please don't misunderstand. I like Christ. I may not like the church much. So, I think he was a great yogi. Another thing he said was, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. So if this is a peace walk, this is what we are doing. Now, do we need to sit here more or walk? Before it rains. No, it's a good time to walk because there is the sun. And tomorrow we will have again a satsang when we stop like this somewhere. We will have it every day. Tomorrow I want to do it this way, that you ask questions and we discuss it. Some more time. Is that okay? I hope. What's that sound? Oh. So